Those who only remember NPL for his time on NAVI may not remember him fondly. He only managed a 6-map streak of 1+ ratings. But this is not the same NPL, and this is not that NAVI roster. By joining Bait in 2023, NPL has found himself in a far more accommodating and honestly productive place for his Counter-Strike. Bait needed a consistent rifler who would deliver big frags in big moments, and NPL has delivered for them. He has taken on a great deal of responsibility, both in terms of his fragging roles as well as taking on the mantle of leadership. He's approached these new responsibilities with great poise, considering between his highest and lowest rated maps across this period on Bait, he only has a difference in rating of 0.05. This guy has been immensely consistent for the Ukrainian squad. Given that he's been delivering those numbers no matter the map, Bait have actually been able to have a map pool where their lowest win rate still sits above 50% as of time of writing. Of course, there's more to this player than simply the numbers, so I've taken a deep dive into the demos to find out exactly what it is he's doing so well. Firstly, the most unavoidable feature of his play has been his pistols. I love it when I watch a player who's naturally gifted but also shines on pistol rounds, because it means I don't have to wait until halfway through the demo to get to the good stuff. It starts immediately. The reason I think he's so good on the CT pistol is that when it comes to these steady, controlled, tracking shots, he's outstanding. His crosshair stays on heads like it's been magnetized, and it allows him to deliver multi-frags with great consistency. On the CT side, it's quite clear he plays as a rotator and as the key player challenging for space. Now, the best example for this I think on both sides of the map, across the entire map pool, is Nuke, the map he plays, I think, personally, the best, but he does also have key positions on other maps. For example, on Anubis, one of the toughest rotator spots to play in all of Counter-Strike, he does play middle, and he does excel at that spot, relative to its difficulty. He's also challenging mid on maps like Ancient and Mirage, both maps where those brawls can be quite important, and honestly, he's one of the best in Tier 2 at taking those fights. What makes him so effective is quite often his instinctive understanding of which angles to clear at which time, but also his crosshair placement and his first bullet accuracy. Now, few can match it, and especially when he's looking where you're going to peek from before you even realize you're going to peek from there, he's going to frag you in almost every occasion. CT side. He likes to challenge from a variety of spots on the CT defense. Here we've got a boost, jumping himself along to short, self-boosting his floor. Easy first frag. It's going to the upgraded pistols, but this is going to be very typical of his style. He's either challenging from there or from connector in a lot of rounds. They do have to abuse the smoke pops when they go for these sorts of challenges. You see they're using it this time for info. Just going to finish this round off. Tracks Oscar well. Now that's GG. NPL Anubis. So, one of the more difficult roles, as I mentioned in the script. Yeah, it's one that you need your best players on, really. And always see him, yeah, he's going to be quite aggressive in this challenge to the flash for it. Checks the boost. See, an early anti-rush shooter. Here we go, checks the boost again. Lovely shot. Sprays and retreats. Deliberate util usage, knows where to peek, he's not just stepping out randomly, hoping to get lucky. Great crosshair placement, and an easy shot. Oh, a lovely double up as well, checking his angles. We see there's a lot of unknowns right now, because they left A quite open. Finally does go down, but man, great mechanics, great pre-aims, great understanding of where to look and when. What a triple kill. Alright, this is a round where we see one of NPL's sort of pet plays on the CT side of Nuke. As I said this, he is the outside player, and quite often you'll see he likes to throw like the standard molly that everyone throws outside, then potentially challenge around red, or he likes to play up on the blue box. We'll get to that around of that, but this is one of his little pet plays he also likes to go for, is that secret push just straight up. Not use any of his util outside, and just end up here, ready to brawl. It does leave him, if you notice,
quite isolated from his team, so this is where I get the idea that maybe there's other voices on this roster. Surprise the opposition. There you go. Double kill, nice and easy. A flashbang from Alex to set up as well.
On the T side, his role can fluctuate a little bit, but generally you will find him around the extremities. And I want to go back to that nuke example I used before, because this is the map where the outside player, this extremity player, this semi-lurk, semi-engaging player who has to take early fights and late fights, but positionally excellent. I think one of the most difficult roles to play, and one that really separates the great from the good. He is outstanding, and some of the rounds I'm going to highlight, he's not even out-fragging everyone. He's simply making sensational, instinctive, in-the-moment reads and plays that for a kid, I mean, he is still like 20 at most. I don't actually have an age written down for this video, but he's on Prospect. He's a kid. He has no right being so ingenious with his movement and positioning. That's really what I want to focus in on. Now, on other maps, like let's say in Ancient or Inferno, he does play what I'd call a little more by the book, a little more straight up, with a little less flair for these sorts of ingenious pushes we're talking about, but he's still doing everything quite right, disciplined. Those of you who are members may have seen Prospect's Starry, I believe is the most chaotic example of this. We're talking about a young player who's mechanically gifted, but there isn't much rhyme or reason or much consideration given to the things he's doing. MPL is clean, proper, and precise in a lot of these spots.
Here we got another round showing off that very deliberate attempt to control mid from lane. It's going to use this pace and Molly to prevent a push. Also the fact that he loses 2 players in mid. This is smoked off already with a spawn smoke. Allows him to take this fight here aggressively, knowing he needs to make this challenge work. There you go. As some mid control re-established, the kill allows them to go back to B. To a quick finish, I'm assuming that's off the call from the central. Saying we got the kill. How many could there be? They go. Nice find on the nade. And here we go, another playmaking opportunity. Wraps in. Oh, what a double spray. Filthy. I've seen it 3 times now. I love it each time. So glorious. Right, onto the T side of Nuke. But we do have, yes, a certain intelligence to observe. A really strong outer player. So you saw Hurley, his nade went to where you'd expect. Players to be standing to challenge these sorts of smokes. Stays hidden, also expecting the first smoke that will come down will trigger someone to pop it. It was popped. Teammate shoots him in the head because he's a dumbass. Almost giving away the game. Still able to sneak out and get Khegev. Huge impact. Now he's a thorn in the side. If you can do more, it's all bonus. The CTs do not have comfortable positioning anywhere because they've lost outside control to one man, who might cost them even more. He gets that play. I'm not sure if he spots the second one, but with 15 HP, he's definitely not favoured to win another fight. Now, on all the demos, there were more red wall smokes, but yeah, more recently they have been very dependent on this deep wall, this diagonal wall. See this round, he hears it pop, makes his way between the T and CT smokes, thus looking very aggressively pushed up, and stays behind where the pops usually happen. Those smokes get blown up. Seeks his way into the nade, and that's a free kill. So smart. And now throws up a smoke, distracts, holds attention, makes himself a nuisance. And he goes looking for more impact, hoping to catch the outer player still lingering. Now, where are these guys hiding? One is hiding out here. See if he wins this fight. Doesn't really matter though. But he does. Oh, God, he's already won the round, but then he hits that shot as well. You know what? Throw in one more round from this demo for good measure. This is just my point though. This guy is a nuke specialist. The numbers have changed since I first wrote the script in terms of his best and worst maps. The differential has now opened up to like a 0.11 gap between his best rated map and his worst rated map. I'm talking map in the map pool. But that's now a difference from 1.33 to 1.22 or something silly like that. Whereas it used to be his top end was 1.18 down to 1.15. You know, he's still phenomenally impactful and consistent across the entire pool that these guys play. Yeah, this time making his way down after lingering behind his smokes, holding the attention. If you see those players still lingering around main, still not making their way down entirely, uncomfortable, not knowing where he was this entire time. They've seen so many different looks out of that same smoke setup. Smoke setup he seems to have called for as the AGL. There you go, catches Trunic unaware, unsure. You know you've done a lot to make that happen. Able to double up. What a conversion. And now just leaves the AWPer in a 1v3. If he gets this kill as well. He does. Not much of a frag, but still a frag nonetheless. Mechanically, there are certain things he does outstandingly. We've already touched on the pistols, but just to reiterate, that does really translate to his rifle play as well. Considering his crosshair placement and his ability to just always be aiming in the right height, the right distance from the angle. He is a killer with an AK. Sure, his M4 is solid, but the M4, you need that second bullet. With the AK... Finally, we do have to talk directly about NPL's leadership. This is something that flew under the radar for me. I didn't actually realize when Owner left this roster that it was NPL who took over the IGLing, or as they refer to it as the captaincy. Having led the team for 122 maps as of time of writing, I can say that his execution of the maddened game plan is about as good, perhaps sneaking up to better than Owner's was. Now this may not all just be to his credit, it may also be other voices in the team stepping up, helping him with mid-rounds, because if he is genuinely the one main voice calling everything on both sides of every map, whilst also taking all the most important fights and being the highest rated player on the team, that just seems too good to be true. I want it to be. I'd wish, if it is, get this guy on a better roster. But I'm going to reserve a little bit, not going to get too excited. I'm pretty sure other voices have had to contribute heavily, because otherwise, yeah, mind blown. Now, whilst I did initially write in this script that it may be a limitation of this team going forward in the long term that their best rifler also has the burden of leadership, but given what I've seen and how the team's progressed since, the limitation probably isn't NPL. Now, let's take a look at some graphs for a more detailed introduction to what each one of these represent. I will be going over it briefly, but I'm not going to waste my time going into detail like I did the first time I went through this. So if that is of interest to you, Prospects Jaber, I'll put a link to the timestamp on screen. That'll work. Firstly, on the positional spectrum, NPL. On the T side, takes a lot of opening duels, contests for a lot of map control. So he does end up in the upper half of this graph. Defensively, he's also very active. He's definitely a rotator, a brawler, so he has to go towards the far right. He's up there. He's very distinct in that case. It wasn't very difficult for me to explain to myself or to stick him on this graph. Like, he's got clear star rifle roles. Now let's look at probably the most esoteric graph, his aim skills. Now explosively, he is very good. He doesn't knock my socks off like some of the highest hitters on this list, like Boros, but he's certainly a good way up the graph. Then when it comes to control, well, I had a lot to say about his pistol play, his angle management, his crosshair placement. He has to go pretty far right. Like, this guy is insane when it comes to things like his pistols and his placement, so I've got to give him his credit. Finally, my favorite, current level versus potential. This is an interesting call to make. NPL probably has more time in tier 1 than any other prospect I'll likely cover, or I think even have covered. He's also taken on far more responsibility than almost any other prospect. Like most prospects, they may play challenger, like explosive roles, but they're not going to be calling. They're not going to be making any sort of impact on that side of the game. I know this guy's doing both. I have to score him quite highly on his current level. Is he the finished product? No.
relative to other prospects, he might be the closest we have to an entirely finished product. Like, this player is outstanding for this level, and especially for his age range. Now, for his potential, given the fact that he has done so much at such a high level in this team, I have to give him one of the highest grades I've ever given. Now, it still remains to be seen how much he can carry over, and if there will be space in upper level teams where he could actually show off this quality. But I think genuinely you could put together right now a Ukrainian roster using talents like NPL, like guys from Passion UA, like you're talking Jakazmo and Jambo. Even Monty's got Demka still on their roster, who is one of the more solid riflers just currently in the scene. Like, he's relegated to a team like Monty, but he realistically could be a contributing piece on almost any roster outside of maybe the top 3. So maybe NPL doesn't need to be taken up. Maybe he's a Ukrainian star rifle IGL who pulls a team up with him. Maybe he is the angel that we never quite got in CSGO. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, leave a comment on your thoughts on this player. If you want to get more from the channel, especially more prospects, be sure to become a member. Members get access to a number of things, but most importantly, the Prospect Demo series. These are demo reviews, single maps typically, but there are already, I think, close to a dozen uploaded. They are half an hour long. I do go fairly in depth for the most part into what I'm seeing. If you ever want to get some sort of insight into what I look for in these players, that's the place to go. You also, as members, get to vote on the next episode and see behind the scenes content from Retake the Week and any other behind the scenes content I feel like sharing. It's quite a lot for $2. If you enjoyed, please consider that. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.